Okay, let's talk about the Lyra. The SOMA Lyra. First, before I get started talking about this, I've gotten a few remarks on a few of my videos about my relaxing, chill voice or demeanor. Yeah, I am like that, but I'm also just trying to be quiet for the other people who live in my house. So it's a combination, but I'm glad people seem to like that. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about the Lyra synthesizer. There's a bunch of videos out on it. It's been used in huge movies. I forget exactly right now which ones, but you can look it up. It's popular with some composers. It's definitely the sound artist's friend, and I can imagine it would be awesome for Foley, for sound effects and everything like that. So this is my brother's actually, and he was obsessing over it for a long time, and he bought it, and then I took it. And now it's mine for like 3 weeks while I make videos about it and talk about it. And so I wanted to just talk about primarily in this video the philosophy behind the Lyra, why it was designed, the intention behind it, and what the player's supposed to get out of it. So it was made by a guy named Vlad Krimer. He's a Russian synth maker and radio engineer. And so it's a Russian tank, this thing. You really get the impression that it's solidly built. There weren't any corners cut here. Although he could have cut these corners a little bit more. It made it a little more round because, to me, it's the organismic synthesizer. So it's sort of very square structure, kind of seems more geological. That doesn't matter, though. But anyway, the philosophy behind it is kind of 3 parts. The first part is the idea of linearity, being nonlinear in terms of the circuitry and how things interact within the synth. So it doesn't behave like a typical synth in that you've got an oscillator and it goes through the envelope generator, and then it goes through the filter, and it goes through. It's all interconnected in different ways. So, for example, the envelope generators will affect the pitch and the delay and all of that sort of. It's all intertwined, so it creates really complex, unpredictable sounds. So it's unpredictable, which is, I think, really good for someone who's maybe doesn't have the most musical knowledge, perhaps, and is kind of just experimenting. Maybe someone who's more into sort of technology and engineering and circuitry and wants to experiment with sound. This is, I think, a great machine for that because it can be kind of understood that way, and also you can just play and see what you get, and there's no real knowledge required in terms of musical knowledge. That being said, if you do know a lot about music and scales, you've got 8 oscillators, eight voices, and you can tune them like I just did. Now those aren't tuned to actual pitches on the piano, so they're not tuned to like A440 and this and that. These are tuned just to whatever my ear wanted, and they've shifted slightly since I did it like 5 minutes ago. That's another big thing about the philosophy behind this instrument, is that it is organic in the sense that there's not quantization of pitches, and you can tune it to any scale. He talks about in his writing about it, about the Indian ragas, the sort of scale-like musical structure, something I don't understand anything about. So if you know about that in the comments, go ahead and talk about that for people. But basically the idea is you can tune to whatever you want, and microtonal tunings and everything like that. So that's really cool. Another thing behind the philosophy here is he was inspired by the violin in the sense that the player is really connected immediately to the instrument. There's not much between the expressive musicality of the player and a violin and the sound. It's just a finger on a string, and that's it. And that's the case here. There's a bunch of knobs and everything, but in terms of the physical touch, you're right there generating it. Your body, the connection between these two metal pads on each voice, your body creates the electronic it completes the circuit. And it's completely safe, by the way, but you complete the circuit, and depending on your body temperature, moisture on your hand more so, I think, it will change, actually, the sound of it and the tuning and how fast it reacts, for example. You're very connected to the instrument. That's one aspect that he talks about. He kind of wanted to go back to the idea of like the theremin, where it was like, yes, it's an electronic instrument, but it's very much something you can connect with easily as a player, as a musician, or whatever. I guess I want to talk about a little bit about like the applications with this. I think this is great for like creating like textures and drones in terms of playing melodies. Also could be great if you're playing kind of slower melodies. I haven't been with it long enough to tell, but from my just initial impression, you can't do really fast articulated melodies. So if like the violin is if the violin is the hare, the lyra is the tortoise, it's and I'm on fast. See, I've got the envelopes on fast, and so it's still quite slow. So if you want to be, Chopin on this thing, I'm sorry, I don't think you can, but it does other things awesomely. So now let's just make let's just see what I can get going. Just see if I can make something cool. So I've already tuned this, but I'm going to go through and show you how easy it is to kind of find the sweet spots in tuning. Just sort of. So that's a little out of tune, right? So if I just adjust. Better. So, and it's easier than tuning a guitar because it has that just sustain that just goes. And it's, it's very fine control. So then. And I'm barely touching these knobs. Yeah, okay, so now I've got that, so I'm going to turn on the hold, and I'm going to turn these on slow, and I'm going to turn these on hold so I can just let that play out. All right, let's do the next. That's pretty good. So those seem fine to me. Alright, so I'll bring in these voices, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so you've got these, turn it down a little, just for a minute. So you've got these sharp knobs here that just add upper harmonics, make like sort of a saw wave kind of vibe. All right. So now I'm just gonna mess around a bit and see where I can take this. Maybe make like a rhythmic sort of thing that you could record and put a beat behind, for example. But it's unpredictable, so I might end up just making some crazy mess or some crazy cool sound effect. Who knows? So yeah, that's one direction you could go. There's a million things that can happen, and it can sound utterly and completely different than that. That just happened to be what sort of happened, and I'm not even that comfortable on this thing at all. So another thing that's mentioned is it's supposed to be like the violin as well, in the sense that you give this thing 10,000 hours. Imagine what you could do once you get an intuitive command of the controls and what you can change. Like, I didn't change any of the tuning knobs down here during that. I only changed the processing that's sort of after that, and I changed these two pitch controls, which are for like the two different groups of voices. So yeah, but you could do so much with it. So anyway, that's my introduction to the Lyra, talking about the philosophy of it a little. I hope you look into it if you're looking for a new synth. It's an interesting one. It's really cool. Lots of fun. Definitely looking into getting my hands on somehow SOMA's drum machine. It's called the Pulsar. There's a bunch of great videos on that. I think it's called the Pulsar, right? Yeah. But anyway, thanks so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. I hope you found this informative and fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye.